Lagos. Welcome to the very last edition of The Conversation this week. I am Abimbola Bello.
And I am Joy Olu. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning and welcome.
Right, of course, Joy and myself are here this morning to help you start your weekend on a beautiful note. And the conversations we'll be having today, especially the larger conversation, is one that, we can't exhaust. Even I'm sure at the end of today's conversation, there's so many things we would not have touched, because we do know that at the moment there's just some, I don't know if it is a generational gap, or if it is something that is, just going on and we need to start paying more attention to. And that is the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, the Gen whatever, and parents finding a common ground when it comes to parenting, when it comes to building a family, when it comes to making decisions. All of these things are just snowballed into one, and a lot of families are either grasping with the challenges or finding new ways or contending new ways to confront these challenges. Some are not even finding it funny at all.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, there have been gaps between generations, but why this seems to be so different is because times and seasons have changed. Priorities have changed. Value systems have changed.
I think you should actually put value first.
Abi? So I think those are the things and more have contributed to where we are today.
Well, and we've always said, if you don't have something, you can't give it. Because I think parents also need to start looking at changing with the times or changing with the tides. I can't remember who said it, but I know I've heard it this week, that, sometimes you always want to think, oh, I don't want to raise my child the way I was raised. And somehow we are making the same mistakes. So we need to also listen to our children more and need to conform with what's, but that's not erasing the fact that we will totally take away the rod.
Discipline is constant.
Yes, discipline is constant. Again, but I guess discipline to many is also, it means a lot. So, today we'll be hearing from representative of this gen and then some parents. So that conversation is one that you don't want to miss on the program this morning. So let's take a news point for today. I will start on this side, and this one, PFIPC scandal puts budget integrity governance under scrutiny. And the story says what began as the presidency's attempt to dismiss the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council as a fictitious organization has snowballed into a far wider controversy over the integrity of Nigeria's public institutions. It has also stirred several questions over how an agency declared non-existent could allegedly operate within government circles and appear in the 2026 Appropriation Act with a 1.3 billion naira allocation. Yesterday, opposition leaders, lawyers, civil society groups, and former senior government officials intensified calls for an independent investigation, warning that the affair has become a test of the Tinubu administration's commitment to transparency and accountability. While the presidency has firmly dismissed Adeniyi Adeyemi as an impostor and absolved Chief of Staff Femi Gbajabiamila of bribery allegations, the central question has shifted. It is no longer simply whether Adeyemi forged documents. It is whether Nigeria's governance systems contain weaknesses significant enough to allow a fictitious institution to pass through multiple layers of official scrutiny. Chronologically, the presidency's account suggests that concerns first emerged in October 2025 after the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission complained that PFIPC's activities conflicted with its statutory mandate. Well, it's actually a very long read, but I will just say here that I think, again, like The Guardian has put it this morning, this is actually a test for this current administration to prove beyond reasonable doubt that indeed there is no, there's no form of conspiracy between this allegedly fake office or this individual who's operated this office for such a long time and somebody or some people in government, even though, yes, the presidency has absolved the chief of staff to Mr. President of all allegations, I think there's still a need to ensure that this is looked into appropriately and make it also open so that Nigerians will know and see beyond reasonable doubt that indeed this individual is, in quotes, one very smart individual that was able to bypass all of, the government structure and to have operated this office for such a long time. And maybe, just maybe, for posterity's sake, maybe it would just also be nice for the chief of staff to step aside honorably, just to again ensure that, due diligence is done. And at the end of the day, once absolved completely, he can come back to office. But I know that, in other climes, when things like this happen and you really want to clear your name, you step aside for investigations to be thoroughly carried out.
Yeah, this story that we have heard, raises a lot of questions. Even yesterday we talked about it, that is it possible, for instance, now we are in Lagos, is it possible for me to go and get an office in Secretariat and nobody will know about it, But again, there is need for serious investigation, and there is also a need to carry Nigerians along. Let us know what is going on. I'm really hoping that this will not be an issue that will be swept under the carpet for posterity's sake again, as you have stated. Okay, no final decision on Adire NYSC uniform, FG clarifies. The Minister of Youth Development, Ayodele Olawande, on Thursday clarified that the federal government had yet to approve Adire as the new uniform for members of the National Youth Service Corps, hours after his comments on the proposed change generated widespread reactions. In a statement published on his official X handle, he said reports suggesting that Adire had been adopted to replace the iconic khaki uniform misrepresented his remarks during an appearance on a television program. The minister explained that while he mentioned Adire and Ankara during the interview, they were only examples of proposals being considered as part of the ongoing reforms of the scheme, adding that no final decision has been taken on the fabric or design. He also stated that the government was considering options that tick all the right boxes in terms of professional outlook, a unique national identity, durability, functionality, cost effectiveness, and the projection of national pride. The minister also urged Nigerians not to allow the debate over the proposed uniform to overshadow the broader objectives of the ongoing reforms. The reforms are designed to make the scheme more relevant to today's realities by improving employability, promoting entrepreneurship, strengthening national integration, enhancing service delivery, and creating a smoother transition from education to productive careers. That's basically the thrust of the story there. After 53 years, the federal government is looking at reforming the NYSC. And again, yesterday I saw that news all over social media. Federal government wants to change from khaki to Adire, and but now they've clarified.
Well, even the clarification for me, yes, a reform might be in the right direction, but the question again to ask is, with the khaki, you can't really identify a region. Adire or Ankara is not a Nigerian. It belongs to a certain region. Even though, yes, it's acceptable, everybody, yes, would identify with Ankara. Ankara may be better, but Adire, a lot of people will still see it as a Yoruba thing.
Yeah.
And then the moment, I know he's local, and then I know that what the Minister for Youth said, during that interview was to localize, the fabric and make it look like something that, you're pruning back into the Nigerian economy. But in my personal opinion, I would say I do not think that the Adire or the Ankara is uniform enough for Nigerians. Now, this is my personal opinion. And so I wouldn't want a national reform to be viewed as a sectional reform, because Nigerians can be very sentimental when it comes to things like this. And then you hear things like, oh, is it because the minister is a Yoruba man? Is that why he's thinking along that line? So as much as, yes, the reform is welcome, we can actually do the reform and still maintain the khaki uniform.
Exactly. I wanted to ask you now that, do you think the khaki should be changed?
I don't see any necessity for the uniform to be changed. You can actually reform and still maintain the uniform, because again, I think the uniform is uniform enough. Yes, it's uniform enough. And then the moment you start thinking of localizing, what they should just do is to ensure that the fabric is locally produced, is locally sourced, and just allow for this to, again, maybe you can allow regions to fabricate their own and just don't cause more issues. We are divided enough on issues around ethnicity, religion, opinions, political opinions, than to come and use NYSC uniform to cause problem again.
Talking about durability, I was just, for instance, if maybe Adire was to be considered, will it be able to last for 1 year?
I don't know. You maybe
be doing patch. Anyway.
Well, so again, like he noted, it's just an idea, toying with an idea. So perhaps maybe now that a lot of people have kicked against it, maybe they would jettison the idea and just allow for the uniform to be, and just let us move on with the reforms without necessarily changing the uniform. Let's take the final news story this morning. Article vows 2027 fight as court clears Mark-led ADC. The Federal High Court Abuja on Thursday affirmed David Mark's leadership of the opposition African Democratic Congress, a ruling the party welcomed, even as former Vice President Atiku Abubakar said he would continue his pursuit of the 2027 presidency. Atiku described the judgment, which dismissed a suit filed by member of the House of Representatives, Leke Abejide, as victory for constitutional democracy and the rejection of attempts to use the judiciary for political ends. Delivering judgment on Thursday, Justice Musa Liman upheld the preliminary objections raised by the ADC, its former national chairman, Ralph Nwosu Mark, and the party's national secretary, Rauf Aregbesola. The judge held that the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the matter because it bordered on the internal affairs of a political party, which he described as non-justiciable. Justice Liman also rules that Abejide lacks the legal standing to institute the suit, having failed to demonstrate how his rights were violated by the emergence of the current ADC leadership. He further held that the lawmaker did not exhaust the party's internal dispute resolution mechanism before approaching the court. The judge equally resolved the issues raised in the substantive suit in favor of the defendants. On the legality of the emergence of Mark and Aregbesola as the party's leaders, Justice Liman held that the transfer of leadership at Nwosu did not contravene the ADC constitution. He held that the July 2nd, 2025 stakeholders meeting, where Nwosu handed over the party's leadership, preceded the National Executive Committee meeting of July 29, 2025, which formally produced Mark and Aregbesola as the party's national chairman and national secretary, respectively, under the supervision of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Hopefully, this will lay to rest all of the issues concerning the legality of David Mark and the ADC, now that the court has ruled that Abejide lacks, the legality to have approached the court, and the court also ruled that he did not exhaust all of the party's resolution mechanism before approaching the court. We do hope that this will be a final straw to this particular matter.
Absolutely. And
Right.
the INEC window for the parties to start uploading their
Their information on the platform. All right, that's the much your take on the news points this morning. Let's quickly head over to the X platform to take a look at what's trending on the X platform this morning. Of course, Mr. President is trending this morning. At an event yesterday, he recognized his dear wife and went ahead to say, Iyalakara. And of course, that has elicited a lot of generation from on the social media platforms. While some people said, oh, so Mr. President actually is aware of what's trending on the socials, some people said, oh, he should have protected his wife and not throw his wife under the bus. And my question was, wait a minute. What I saw at that event was just a man full of humor.
Yes.
That was all I saw.
Can't we
and
take
I
a joke?
appreciated his sense of humor because
Yeah.
he was laughing.
He was laughing
all the way while saying that. And, you know, for me, it was more or less like, okay, maybe the first lady has earned another name. She used to be our Mama Bidisi. So now she's Iyalakara.
You know, I don't know, but again, can we just take it easy? You know, just
yes,
take a joke.
I mean,
life is not so hard.
Life isn't hard.
You know,
life isn't hard at all.
Playing with his wife, you know, and that's again to say, for him to know that things are he's aware of things that are trending online and say, oh, I hear you people, Iyalakara, you know. But again, life is not hard. I mean, when you find the time to laugh, laugh.
And then I like this person's angle to it. And she said, beyond politics, this is a beautiful reminder to celebrate your spouse publicly. Yeah. Mr. President never misses a chance to hype his beloved Iyalakara. May every home be filled with love and laughter. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, it was just a joke. It was just the president expressing a great sense of humor at that event yesterday. And I'm sure the First Lady would have taken it so well because, you know, the camera panned to her and she was just, you know, grinning to whoever was sitting beside her. And she didn't take, she didn't take it personal at the end of the day. Well, you can go onto the X platform this morning and take a further read on why Iyalakara is trending on the X platform. We'll take a quick break. The conversation returns shortly.